My beloved brothers and sisters, we live in a world where hearts are heavy, where questions echo loudly in the mind, and where trials seem to arrive one after another. In those moments, the first thing that begins to shake is not our surroundings, but our belief. We start asking, why me? We start wondering if our du'as are heard, if our tears are seen, if Allah is still with us. And this is where the greatest battle takes place, not outside, but within the heart. Stop doubting the one who created you. Stop doubting the one who has carried you through every hardship you once thought would break you. You are still here today, not by accident, but by mercy. Allah has never promised us a life without pain, but He has promised us that we will never face it alone. When doors close, when people leave, when plans collapse, that is not the end. That is Allah redirecting you, preparing you, elevating you. Sometimes Allah delays not to punish you, but to build you. Sometimes He tests your patience so that your reward can be greater than what you ever imagined. What you see as a setback may be a setup for something far better, but it requires one thing from you: belief. Belief when the road is dark. Belief when answers are silent. Belief when your heart feels tired but still beats with hope. So today, remind your heart who Allah is. He is Al-Latif, the most gentle, even when life feels harsh. He is Al-Hakim, the most wise. Even when you don't understand the lesson, trust Him. Hold firmly onto Him. Because the moment you stop doubting and start believing, everything begins to change. Not always around you at first, but within you. And when your heart changes, your entire world follows. When a person allows doubt to settle into the heart, it quietly weakens everything. Doubt does not arrive loudly. It comes softly, disguised as questions, worries, and overthinking. It makes a person look at hardship and assume it is a sign of failure or abandonment. Yet trusting Allah does the exact opposite. It strengthens the heart even when the body feels tired and the situation feels heavy. The difference between doubt and trust is not the absence or presence of problems, but the presence of peace within those problems. Every believer will face moments where life does not make sense. Doors close without explanation. Efforts seem wasted. Du'as appear unanswered. At that point, doubt whispers, if Allah truly cared, this wouldn't be happening. But this thought itself is a misunderstanding of who Allah is. Allah is not distant from pain. He is closer to the brokenhearted than they realize. Hardship is not proof that Allah has turned away. In many cases, it is proof that Allah is paying special attention, shaping a soul for something greater. Trusting Allah means believing that His wisdom is far beyond our limited vision. We see only the present moment, while Allah sees the entire journey, past, present, and future. A child cries when a needle touches their skin, not knowing that it is meant to protect them from greater harm. In the same way, we often cry under pressure, unaware that Allah is preventing a future pain, guiding us away from something harmful, or preparing us for a blessing we are not yet ready to receive. Doubt focuses on the pain of the needle, while trust focuses on the care behind it. When trust enters the heart, it does not remove tears, but it gives meaning to them. A believer may cry, feel weak, and even feel lost, but deep inside there remains a quiet certainty that Allah knows, Allah sees, and Allah will respond in the best way. This trust transforms suffering into worship. Every moment of patience becomes a source of reward. Every unanswered question becomes an act of surrender. Every delay becomes a lesson in reliance. Doubt drains energy because it forces the heart to carry burdens it was never meant to carry alone. A person consumed by doubt constantly asks, what if this never changes? Trust shifts the question to, what does Allah want to teach me through this? That shift alone can change how a person wakes up each day. Instead of waking with fear, they wake with purpose. Instead of feeling abandoned, they feel accompanied, even in silence. Trusting Allah does not mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means striving with effort while leaving the outcome to Him. It means doing your best, and accepting that the result, whatever it may be, is chosen by the one who loves you more than you love yourself. Doubt says, I must control everything or I will lose. Trust says, I will do what I can, and Allah will take care of what I cannot. Many people look back at their lives and realize that the moments they once begged Allah to remove were the very moments that shaped their strength, softened their hearts, and brought them closer to Him. At the time, doubt made those moments unbearable. Later, trust revealed their hidden beauty. Allah sometimes breaks what we cling to so that we can hold on to Him instead. And once a person learns to rely on Allah, no loss truly destroys them again. In the end, trusting Allah during difficult times does not guarantee immediate relief, but it guarantees something far more powerful: inner stability. The world may shake, plans may collapse, and people may disappoint, but a heart anchored in trust remains firm. That heart understands that nothing happens randomly, nothing is wasted, and nothing escapes the knowledge of Allah. When doubt fades and trust takes its place, the believer may still walk through storms, but they walk knowing they are never alone. Many people assume that when life becomes difficult, it must mean that Allah is displeased with them or has turned away. This assumption is one of the most painful misunderstandings a believer can carry. Hardship is often seen as rejection, yet in reality, it can be a form of divine attention. Allah, in His wisdom and mercy, allows trials not to break a person, but to draw them closer, to awaken their heart, and to elevate their rank in ways comfort never could. If hardship were a sign of abandonment, then the most beloved of Allah would have lived easiest lives. Yet history shows the opposite. The most righteous people faced the greatest trials. They were tested in their health, their families, their wealth, and their security. Not because Allah disliked them, but because He was preparing them for something far greater than worldly ease. Ease does not always purify the heart, but hardship often does. It strips away false reliance and forces a person to turn sincerely toward Allah. When life becomes comfortable, people often forget to ask, forget to thank, and forget to reflect. But when hardship strikes, the heart softens. Hands rise in dua that were once lowered. Tears fall that cleanse the soul. A person who once felt self-sufficient suddenly realizes their complete dependence on Allah. This realization is not a punishment, it is a gift. It reconnects the servant with their true purpose and reminds them that they were never meant to walk this life alone. Hardship also reveals truths that comfort hides. It shows who sincerely cares, what truly matters, and where the heart is attached. Many attachments feel strong until they are tested. When Allah removes certain supports, it is often to teach the believer that their ultimate support was never meant to be people, wealth, or status. It was always Him. This shift in reliance is one of the greatest forms of spiritual growth, though it often arrives wrapped in pain. Divine attention does not always come in the form of blessings we recognize immediately. Sometimes it comes as delays, detours, or disappointments. A closed door can be Allah protecting a person from a path that would have harmed them. A loss can be a mercy in disguise, saving a person from future heartbreak or spiritual decline. The problem is not that Allah is silent, but that the heart is looking for answers only in ease, not in essence. When a believer understands that hardship can be a sign of Allah's care, their perspective begins to change. They stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is Allah teaching me through this? This shift does not remove the pain, but it removes despair. Pain without meaning leads to hopelessness, but pain with purpose leads to patience and growth. There is also a special closeness to Allah that emerges during hardship. In moments of brokenness, when distractions fall away, a person often feels a sincerity in worship they never felt before. Duas become more heartfelt, prayers more focused, and reliance more genuine. This closeness is priceless. Many people search their entire lives for peace, not realizing that it is often found in moments when they have nothing left to rely on except Allah. Hardship humbles the soul. It reminds a person that control is an illusion and that true strength lies in surrender. This humility protects the heart from arrogance and ingratitude. A heart shaped by struggle often becomes more compassionate, more patient, and more understanding toward others. The pain a person endures becomes a source of mercy they extend to those around them. In time, many believers look back and realize that the period they once feared was actually a turning point. It redirected their life, strengthened their faith, and refined their character. What felt like Allah's absence was actually His guidance unfolding quietly. Hardship was not pushing them away, it was pulling them closer. Understanding this changes how a believer walks through trials. Instead of feeling abandoned, they feel chosen to grow. Instead of drowning in despair, they cling to hope. They recognize that Allah does not waste pain, tears, or patience. Every struggle is counted. Every moment is seen. And every trial carries a wisdom, even if it takes years to fully understand it. One of the hardest lessons for the human heart to accept is that Allah's timing is always perfect, even when it feels painfully slow. When a person is struggling, waiting becomes heavy. Days feel longer, nights feel quieter, and the heart keeps asking when relief will come. In those moments, it is easy to believe that delay means denial or that silence means being ignored. But Allah's timing is not based on our impatience or emotions. It is based on wisdom that sees far beyond what we can comprehend. Human beings live within limits. We see what is in front of us and judge everything by what we feel right now. Allah, however, sees the entire picture. He knows what would happen if something were given to us too early or taken from us too late. A blessing received before its time can become a burden, and relief that comes too quickly may prevent necessary growth. What feels like delay may actually be protection, preparation, or mercy unfolding quietly in the background. Waiting tests the sincerity of faith. It reveals whether a person worships Allah only when things go their way, or continues to trust Him, even when answers do not arrive immediately. During waiting, the heart is trained to rely on Allah rather than on outcomes. This is why waiting, though difficult, is such a powerful form of worship. Every moment of patience, every restrained complaint, and every silent dua is counted and rewarded, even when nothing seems to change outwardly. Allah often delays, not because He wants to withhold goodness, but because He wants to give something better. Sometimes what we ask for is not wrong, but the timing is. We may desire something intensely, believing it will bring peace. Why? Allah knows that our hearts are not yet strong enough to carry it. So He strengthens the heart first through patience, reliance, and trust. When the blessing finally arrives, it arrives with gratitude rather than entitlement, and with stability rather than harm. There are moments when Allah answers a dua by changing us instead of changing the situation. This is one of the most overlooked aspects of divine wisdom. A person may ask for ease, but Allah gives them resilience. They may ask for solutions, but Allah gives them clarity. They may ask for removal of pain, but Allah gives them the ability to endure it with dignity and faith. In time, they realize that what Allah gave was far greater than what they originally asked for. The silence between dua and response is not empty. It is filled with unseen mercy. Allah is arranging events, protecting from harm, and aligning circumstances in ways the human mind cannot perceive. Just as a seed grows in darkness before breaking through the soil, many answers are forming long before they become visible. To lose trust during this period is to abandon hope moments before it appears. Impatience often leads people to make choices they later regret. When relief feels delayed, people rush into decisions, relationships, or shortcuts that promise immediate comfort, but lead to long-term pain. Allah's delay often saves a person from themselves. It slows them down, forces reflection, and prevents harm they may not recognize until much later. What feels like waiting is sometimes Allah holding you back from a door that would have caused damage. Looking back, many believers realize that if Allah had answered their dua exactly when they wanted, their lives would have taken a very different and often worse direction. Opportunities they mourned turned out to be protection. Relationships they begged for would have drained their peace. As they desired would have distanced them from Allah. At the time, the delay felt unbearable. Later, it felt like mercy. Trusting Allah's timing requires surrender. It means accepting that Allah knows when, how, and what is best. It means continuing to make dua without setting conditions on how it must be answered. It means believing that Allah's plan is unfolding perfectly, even when the heart feels tired of waiting. When a believer truly accepts Allah's timing, anxiety begins to loosen its grip. The heart becomes calmer, not because the problem is gone, but because trust has replaced fear. The believer understands that nothing meant for them will miss them, and nothing not meant for them can reach them. With this certainty, waiting becomes easier, patience becomes deeper, and faith becomes stronger. All because the heart learns to trust the wisdom of Allah over its own limited understanding. Faith is often spoken about as something strong and steady, but in reality, it grows through struggle. It is easy to believe when life is smooth, when prayers are answered quickly, and when the heart feels light. But true faith reveals its depth when a person is hurting, confused, and uncertain. Pain has a way of shaking the surface of belief, and in doing so, it forces the roots of faith to grow deeper. Without difficulty, faith may remain shallow. With it, faith becomes unbreakable. Moments of pain strip away distractions. When everything is going well, the heart is often occupied with the world, achievements, plans, and expectations. But when pain arrives, those distractions fall away. A person becomes more reflective, more honest with themselves, and more aware of their need for Allah. This awareness is powerful. It shifts faith from being a habit to being a lifeline. In those moments, belief is no longer something spoken, it is something lived. Uncertainty is one of the greatest tests of faith. Not knowing what will happen next can be more painful than the hardship itself. The mind searches for reassurance, and the heart longs for certainty. Yet it is in this uncertainty that faith matures. Believing in Allah without knowing the outcome teaches reliance. It trains the heart to trust Allah's character, His mercy, wisdom, and justice, even when the path ahead is unclear. This kind of belief is sincere because it is not dependent on immediate comfort. Pain also humbles the soul. It reminds a person of their limitations and their need for divine support. This humility protects faith from arrogance and self-reliance. A person who has tasted weakness understands that strength comes only from Allah. This understanding creates a softer heart, one that is more compassionate, more patient, and more forgiving. Pain reshapes priorities, making faith less about appearance and more about sincerity. During hardship, even small acts of worship take on immense meaning. A simple prayer offered with a broken heart carries a depth that many long for, but never reach. A whispered dua in the darkness feels more intimate than words spoken in ease. Pain removes pretension from worship. It leaves only honesty, vulnerability, and hope. This is where faith becomes real, not performative. Struggle also teaches perseverance. A believer learns that faith is not about never feeling weak, but about continuing despite weakness. There will be days when the heart feels heavy, when motivation is low, and when answers feel far away. Continuing to turn to Allah during those moments builds resilience. Each time a believer chooses faith over despair, something within them strengthens. Over time, this persistence forms a faith that is calm, grounded, and enduring. Pain often becomes a teacher. It teaches patience when answers are delayed. It teaches gratitude when He returns. It teaches empathy toward others who are suffering. A person who has endured hardship with faith understands others more deeply. Their belief becomes a source of comfort, not judgment. Their words carry sincerity because they have lived the struggle they speak about. This depth cannot be learned from comfort alone. There are also moments when faith feels fragile. Doubts may surface, questions may arise, and emotions may fluctuate. This does not mean faith is lost. It means faith is being challenged and refined. Just as fire removes impurities from metal, trials refine belief. They remove false expectations and replace them with trust. A faith that survives. Questioning and pain emerges stronger and more authentic. In time, a believer may look back and realize that the hardest moments were the ones that shaped their relationship with Allah most deeply. Those moments taught them to rely, to surrender, and to hope even when logic failed. Faith born from pain is not loud, but it is steady. It does not demand signs every step, because it has learned to trust the one who guides the steps. When faith grows through pain and uncertainty, it becomes anchored. The believer may still feel sadness, fear, or confusion, but they are no longer shaken at the core. Their belief has been tested, stretched, and strengthened. And that kind of faith does not disappear when storms arrive. It stands firm within them, reminding them that Allah has carried them through before, and He will do so again. Sometimes change does not begin with the world around us, but with the state of the heart within us. A single shift from doubt to belief can alter how a person experiences everything. Life may look the same on the outside, but when belief settles firmly in the heart, the weight of life feels different. Problems no longer feel like punishments, and uncertainty no longer feels like abandonment. This internal transformation is often the first and most powerful change Allah brings to a person's life. Doubt narrows vision. It makes a person focus only on what is missing, what is painful, and what feels unfair. Belief, however, widens perspective. It allows a person to see hardship as part of a greater journey rather than a dead end. When belief replaces doubt, the heart stops resisting reality and starts trusting divine wisdom. This acceptance brings peace, not because the problem has disappeared, but because the heart has stopped fighting what it cannot control. With belief comes a sense of purpose. Difficulties are no longer random, they are meaningful. A believer understands that every experience carries a lesson, even if it is not immediately clear. This understanding changes how a person responds to pain. Instead of asking why they are suffering, they begin asking how they can grow through it. This mindset does not remove sadness, but it prevents despair from taking root. Belief also changes how a person speaks to themselves. Doubt fuels negative inner dialogue, convincing the heart that nothing will improve and that effort is pointless. Belief counters this by reminding the soul that Allah is capable of changing any situation in an instant. This reminder revives hope. A hopeful heart continues to pray, continue to strive, and continues to trust even when results are delayed. Hope rooted in belief is resilient because it is tied to Allah, not circumstances. As belief strengthens, patience becomes more natural. Patience is no longer forced. It is embraced as part of the process. A believer understands that rushing does not bring blessings, and panic does not bring relief. They learn to wait with dignity, knowing that what is written will arrive at the right time. This patience protects the heart from exhaustion and regret. It allows a person to move forward without losing themselves along the way. One of the most powerful effects of belief is inner stability. Life remains unpredictable, but the believer's emotional foundation becomes steady. They are not easily shattered by disappointment or overly attached to outcomes. Success does not inflate the ego, and failure does not destroy self-worth. Everything is seen as temporary, while Allah remains constant. This stability brings a sense of freedom, freedom from fear, from constant worry, and from the need to control everything. Belief also influences action. A person who believes does not give up easily. They continue to work, to improve, and to seek goodness, trusting that Allah sees their effort. Even when doors remain closed, they do not stop knocking. Even when the road is long, they do not stop walking. This persistence often leads to change, sometimes in unexpected ways and sometimes in ways far better than imagined. Over time, this inner shift begins to reflect outwardly. Decisions become wiser, reactions calmer, and relationships healthier. A person guided by belief responds to challenges with grace rather than anger, and with hope rather than bitterness. This does not mean they become emotionless, but that their emotions no longer control them. They are guided by trust instead of fear. Many people wait for life to change before they believe. In reality, belief is often what causes life to change. When the heart aligns with trust in Allah, it becomes ready to receive what was always meant for it. The believer learns that Allah's help often arrives after surrender, not before it. In the end, moving from doubt to belief is not a one-time decision, it is a daily choice. Each day presents moments that challenge faith, and each day offers opportunities to trust again. With every choice to believe, the heart grows stronger. And slowly, sometimes quietly, everything begins to change, starting from within, and then by Allah's will, extending to the world around them.